Charlotte's suburbs are leveling up fast, like the whole city hit a growth spurt overnight and forgot to warn anybody. Ballantyne is building a skyline out of thin air. South End energy is creeping into spots that used to be sleepy, and Waverly feels like it throws a lifestyle block party every weekend. Charlotte is in full glow mode right now. But the shakeup is this: the upgrades are not happening evenly. Some suburbs are becoming walkable, transit-friendly, stay all weekend pockets of life. Others are still running on the same routines they had a decade ago. So I'm ranking them based on how they actually feel when you live here, not the pretend version that the internet loves to sell you. And depending on who you are, you will see yourself in this list. Maybe you're the Lake Norman family that practically lives outside. Maybe you're the South Park remote worker who needs a real coffee shop within strolling distance. Maybe you're a newcomer trying to land in a suburb that matches the way you want to live every day. Your tier is here, and one of these rankings is going to smack you with a surprise. So ask yourself something real. Are you sure your favorite suburb is truly S tier, or did Charlotte evolve and forget to send your zip code the memo? One suburb pulled the wildest plot twist of 2025, and you're going to want to hear it before you make any big decisions. Before we jump into the tiers, let me line this up cleanly. I have spent years walking Charlotte suburbs and watching them flip overnight. I remember touring a place off the McAlpine Creek Greenway that used to feel quiet, then came back a year later to find a new pocket park, a craft coffee shop parked on a Saturday, and neighbors actually hanging out instead of slipping back behind garage doors. Charlotte moves fast, and if you're not paying attention, you will miss the pockets that quietly leveled up. So here's how to use this tier list. Think of it like a lifestyle lens. Match the way you want to live to the suburb that actually fits your space. Some tiers have walkability and mixed use energy that feels a little like South End light. Others are for families who want space, structure, and a neighborhood that still shuts down for kids on bikes. And a few suburbs earned a ranking that will probably catch you off guard. With that in mind, let's start at the very top, the S tier, where Charlotte shows off what it can really do. All right, S tier, these are the suburbs that feel like Charlotte found the hidden menu and started flexing. You show up and everything clicks. The coffee hits, the sidewalks actually take you somewhere, and the whole place feels intentional instead of chaotic. Ballantyne is the prime example. Stand in Ballantyne Village on a Saturday and you can watch a skyline forming right in front of you. Cranes swinging, steel rising, patios packed before noon. None of this is random. Ballantyne leaned hard into Charlotte's push for mixed use, walkable mini hubs shaped by the Urban Design Center. And it pays off. Data from Charlotte's last transit expansion showed homes within half a mile of stations jumping about 20% in value, which is exactly the kind of lift you see in suburbs built around walkability instead of sprawl. You can feel that design working. Cinnamon rolls drifting out of Suarez, kids tearing through the fountains at the bowl, live music warming up, people leaving the car park because everything they want is in a tight 5-minute orbit. Research on dense mixed-use neighborhoods like South End shows they cut emissions more effectively than car-dependent suburbs, and Ballantyne is clearly following that playbook. Now, here's where S tier gets dangerous. I had a couple fly in locked on South Park. Their entire mood was South Park Whole Foods confidence. But we swung into Ballantyne for a quick coffee. 30 minutes later, he's sitting at Harriet's, laptop open, whispering, "Why does this feel like my job, but better?" She looked around at the fountains, the boutiques, the live music setup and said, "If we live here, I will spend money I do not have." That is the S tier effect. It grabs you before you even realize you're choosing it. These suburbs are not just growing. They're evolving into real hubs where design, convenience, and lifestyle stack together in a way other suburbs cannot match. And if you are trying to figure out which suburb actually fits your life, this is exactly what my local Charlotte real estate team helps people do every single week. Call us, text us, email us. All our info is in the description. We will walk you through the real Charlotte and help you land exactly where your lifestyle hits its stride. A-tier suburbs are the places that feel almost perfect, like they're one solved problem away from making the jump to S-tier. They've got the energy, the amenities, the lifestyle, but there's always that one friction point that shows up the minute you start living there. And it's wild because research backs it up. The city's own TOD data shows mixed-use transit zones in Charlotte run at 34% higher occupancy than non-transit areas. But the neighborhoods in this tier sit right outside those prime zip codes. So the value and convenience doesn't always sync. Close, but not quite the cheat code. Take Fort Mill and its cousin down the road, Tega Cay. You walk into the Whole Foods off 160 and the smell of fresh bakery bread punches you in the face. Parents are booking it through the aisles, kids are grabbing samples they definitely didn't ask permission for, and by the time you hit Boba Baba, the teenagers are already fighting over whose turn it is to pay. Weekends around Baxter Village feel like a block party that accidentally got upscale. It's warm, friendly, packed with routine and rhythm. And I love that about it. But then 3 o'clock hits and Gold Hill backs up like the entire county decided to clock out at the same time. Or you're cruising toward Lake Wiley and the last 15 minutes feel twice as long as the rest of the drive. A-tier in a nutshell: the lifestyle hits, the convenience almost hits, and the balance depends on how patient you are. Same energy in Lake Wiley and Riverwalk. Mornings smell like sunscreen and lake mist. People are dragging paddleboards to the water before most of Charlotte has even found coffee. It's peaceful, almost vacation coded. But here's the twist. Those areas saw anywhere from an 18 to 27% bump in property demand once mixed-use build-out started creeping closer, which is great unless you live on a road that wasn't ready for it. Traffic grows faster than the sidewalks do, and suddenly you're doing that internal math of, is this still worth it for the lifestyle? For a lot of people, the answer is yes. For others, that's the 10% that knocks it out of S-tier. A-tier suburbs feel like the friend who shows up dressed to kill but forgot their keys. Incredible energy, killer personality, but that one little thing stops it from being flawless. Before we slide into the next tier, you tell me something. If you had to pick, which team are you riding with? Team Lake Life or Team Walkability? Drop your allegiance in the comments. I want to see the battle lines. B-tier suburbs are the places where you can feel momentum under your shoes. The energy is there, the lifestyle is there, and the glow up is already whispering at you. But the timing has to be right or you miss the magic. Steel Creek is the easiest example. One minute you're catching the smell of birria tacos drifting out of Tacos El Nevado. The next minute the air shifts to lake water and boat fuel blowing in from McDowell Nature Preserve. Driveways stacked with kayaks, international grocery bags in the back seat, a whole mix of people who clearly want access to everything without living in the middle of everything. And the numbers match the vibe. County growth reports show Steel Creek added more than 20,000 residents since 2010, putting it in the top 3 fastest growing parts of Mecklenburg County. That pace is electric. It also turned South Tryon into a crawling line of brake lights at rush hour. Potential and pressure fighting for the same road. Charlotte's Urban Design Center keeps running studies on placemaking, talking about how mixed-use pocket changes the feel of entire corridors. Steel Creek is sitting right on that edge. You can see the next chapter forming, but some of those Garden City Air Street patterns still hang around. The kind suburban design research says make walkability harder and car dependence stickier. The suburb is evolving, not waiting. Harrisburg brings a different kind of energy. This place feels like it's inhaling. New construction going up like someone is speed running a time lapse. Breweries pulling in crowds before dinner. Youth sports fields loaded before the sun comes up. And in-migration data lines up perfectly with what you see. Henderson's reports show the communities hugging 485 are pulling some of the fastest growth in the region. And Harrisburg sits right in that current. Every client I bring here says the same thing. This feels like catching something early. And they're right. Walkability is not there yet, but the trajectory is loud. Further down the map, Indian Trail and Mint Hill bring their own kind of momentum. Mint Hill pulls you in with that classic Saturday morning diner smell drifting off Matthews Mint Hill Road. Indian Trail hits you with baseball fields packed at sunrise and families who treat community events like holidays. There is charm, space, and the kind of daily rhythm that people move here for. The catch is structural. TOD research makes it clear that areas outside the core quarter-mile influence zones develop walkability and value later than mixed-use corridors. It's not worse, just later. And both suburbs are sitting right outside the blast radius of Charlotte's main development wave. B-tier suburbs feel like the opener that outperforms the headliner. Texture, momentum, and a future that gets brighter every year you look at it. C-tier suburbs live in that awkward in-between zone where the past and the future keep bumping into each other. Some streets feel like they never left 1998. Others look like they're auditioning for Charlotte's next wave. And depending on the day, you might love the mix or wonder what the plan is. Pineville shows this better than anywhere. Walk down Main Street in the morning and the air smells like biscuits and fryer oil drifting out of AJ's Diner. Antique shops waking up, that small town quiet that almost feels soft. But head toward Old Pineville Road and everything flips. Breweries warming up, tap rooms pulling early crowds, mixed use energy blending in from the light rail. The contrast is wild, and it's not just vibes. Station area studies show Pineville adopts density slower than the hot zones in South End, which is why the suburb feels halfway through a glow up that's not fully committed yet. Belmont lives in that same push and pull. Down by Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park, the whole place feels like a postcard. Slow water, kids running in the pavilion, people actually relaxing. 5 minutes away, the scenery shifts into older industrial stretches that have not figured out their next identity. Urban planners talk about this all the time. River towns grow unevenly because residential appreciation outpaces commercial redevelopment, and Belmont nails that pattern. The potential is obvious, so are the gaps. Matthews has its own version of the split personality. Around Stumptown Park, the whole town wakes up with farmers market produce, coffee, and live music drifting through the air. Parents hauling chairs like they're headed to a championship game, but a few turns away, older shopping strips sit in limbo waiting for someone to decide what they're going to be. TOD research explains this one clearly. When you fall outside the tight quarter-mile radius of a mixed-use anchor, development happens in waves instead of all at once. One block thrives, the next one waits its turn. C-tier suburbs are not bad, they're unfinished. And if you have patience, you can ride the upside. But if you want a suburb that already knows exactly who it is, this tier will make you second guess fast. D-tier suburbs are the places where Charlotte's glow up just fizzles out. Not because they're unsafe or doomed, but because the world around them sprinted ahead and they stayed stretching in the parking lot. Drive-through pockets along Monroe Road or the older stretch near Pineville Matthews, and the vibe hits instantly. The roads feel too wide, the signs look sun-faded, and the air has that unmistakable scent of fryer oil floating out of a drive-through that hasn't remodeled since the Bush administration. There is history here, but not the kind anyone brags about on a relocation Zoom call. The real slowdown is structural. When Charlotte rezoned over 1,500 parcels along key transit corridors in 2019 to fuel-walkable mixed-use hubs, these areas were basically left on the later list. And studies show that unless you live inside that quarter-mile to half-mile TOD halo, the odds of catching a value bump are low. That's why spots right next to the blue line keep leveling up, while a mile or two down the road feels like time stopped in 2012. Urban researchers call this the Garden City hangover. Once a suburb is built around low density and car-only everything, it struggles to evolve. You end up with long commutes, oven-hot parking lots, and retail centers that all smell faintly like we definitely did not sweep last night. Those suburbs are not failing because no one cares. They're failing because the original blueprint leaves zero room for the walkability, mixed-use lifestyle heavy momentum that the rest of Charlotte is capitalizing on. But here's the spicy truth. D-tier suburbs can still have good people, wide yards, big trees, and affordable pockets of calm. Calm is nice. Calm is peaceful. But calm is not momentum. Calm is not investment, and calm is not wow. This is the Charlotte glow up everyone is talking about. It works for some folks, sure, but it's not the future. I want your take on this one. Which Charlotte suburb do you think is falling behind right now and why? Drop it in the comments because I know this tier is going to stir people up. Every year, one suburb jumps the rankings so hard it makes me stop and say, hold on, when did this place level up? That title goes straight to University City. I know, the place people used to shrug off is UNC Charlotte and a couple wide roads, but if you haven't been up there lately, the shift is loud. You feel it the moment you step off at JW Clay Station. The sidewalks used to look sleepy. Now they move. Scooters humming past, sneakers hitting fresh pavement, the air mixing jasmine tea from Kung Fu tea, construction dust, and the heat coming off the grills at Iron Dish Korean barbecue. Even the breeze has a little edge to it, like the neighborhood finally has something to say. The speed of transformation is the wild part. Once the Blue Line extension landed and the city rezoned 1,500 parcels along the corridor, University City snapped into a different gear. And the research lines up. That quarter to half mile TOD pocket is the sweet spot for value and demand, and this place sits right inside it. The same pattern that pushed South End's transit efficiency through the roof is now playing out up here. More walkers, less car dependency, real mixed-use energy instead of the old 6 lanes and a strip mall vibe. The stereotypes are fading fast. Friday nights around shops at University Place used to feel like errands. Now, the lake reflects neon from the restaurants, balconies light up, and Armored Cow Brewery spills out onto the patio like a neighborhood block party. The new Greenway access is packed every morning. Students, families, remote workers, all moving through the same spaces without dodging parking lots every 10 seconds. And the moment that sealed it for me was a relocation couple who swore they were South Park lifers before they had even stepped off the plane. I brought them to Cava in University City just to get lunch. Half an hour later, they were whispering about budgets like they found Charlotte's secret bonus level. That is when I knew this was not hype. The energy is real. This suburb flipped its whole identity in a way most cities only pull off once a decade. And if a place can climb the rankings this fast, it tells you something bigger about Charlotte right now. A tier only works if you use it like a mirror, not a scoreboard. Charlotte is growing in bursts, and the right suburb depends on how your actual week moves, not which place had the prettiest aerial photo. Start with your real routine, not your fantasy Saturday, your Tuesday. If your best mornings involve walking to coffee, grabbing breakfast without a 20-minute drive, or getting a workout in before traffic wakes up, focus on suburbs sitting inside those quarter to half mile mixed-use pockets. That is where transit, foot traffic, and daily convenience stack together. South End spillover has it. The University City corridor has it. Even Ballantyne Reimagined is getting close. These zones give you a lifestyle you feel the second you step outside your door. But if you want space, long yards, or evenings where you can actually hear cicadas, then the outer ring suburbs is probably your move. Those areas give you room to breathe. Youth sports fields that fill up before breakfast and neighborhood rhythms that stay calm. Just be real about the trade-off. Extra square footage means more time on 485, and nothing snaps people back to reality faster than 30 minutes of brake lights for a gallon of milk. And this is the part most homebuyers skip. The best suburb is not the one with the nicest listing photos. It's the one that solves your main friction. If your pain point is commute time, the Blue Line corridor usually wins because transit patterns stabilize. If your pain point is long-term value, pick suburbs sitting near new rezoning activity because that is where developers place their bets. And if your issue is community identity, go where people gather because they want to be there, not because it's the only place with parking. The cheat code is simple. Match your suburb to your rhythm, not your wish list. Map your priorities to the tiers and you will avoid landing in a place that looks great online but drains you in real life. Charlotte is a momentum city. If you stand still, it will lap you. Suburbs flip, reputation shift, and the only folks who struggle are the ones stuck in pause mode. I watch it happen in real life. A couple flew in convinced they wanted a sleepy suburb and ended up messaging me from a crowded South End coffee shop saying they finally understood why commute and walkability matter together. Meanwhile, a family I placed in Baxter Village stepped into that trail network and those weekend events and told me it felt like the town plugged directly into their lifestyle. Same metro, opposite outcomes. The fit decides everything. So if you want someone who actually knows how these suburbs feel at ground level on an average Tuesday, reach out. Call us, text us, email us. We are your local Charlotte real estate team, and our info is sitting right in the description when you're ready. And if you want to keep the momentum going, jump into the playlist Charlotte Neighborhood Decoder. It breaks down the city the way people actually live it. Thanks for riding with me. More coming next.